Well, welcome everyone as we continue into the potency of Gemini, focusing on simplicity and soul, solemnity, and sisterhood and brotherhood. Let's pause just for a minute and consider our progression from the latent consciousness in Aries through the illuminating light of Taurus to the consciousness of duality in Gemini as we study, meditate, and contemplate, growing in group formation, entering more fully into the energies of Gemini during this cycle of esoteric study and meditation, grounded in the potent energies of the full moon, the Festival of Humanity, and the Great Invocation. As we move forward together today to just expand and continuously make an effort to move your thinking out beyond its usual boundaries, out beyond your usual group and meditative expressions, and see if you can tune into more of that which is growing throughout all of humanity. How do we deepen our apprehension of higher correspondence and lower correspondence, that duality? In Aries, the will to be, it was the correspondence of the logoic plane to the mental plane. In Taurus, with the desire to know, corresponding to the monadic plane and then to the astral plane. And in Gemini, the establishment of relationship, corresponding to the spiritual plane and then to the etheric plane. We're told we must first of all learn to control reactions to the planets as they rule and direct the personality affairs from their different stations in the 12 houses of the horoscope. A way in which this is done from esoteric astrology by consciously assuming the position of the spiritual observer and by cultivating the power to respond to the soul. Then, from the angle of that soul, the man or woman must learn to control circumstance and the attendant reactions of the personality. So in the second part of our approach to the full moon of humanity, the Festival of Humanity, the Festival of the Christ, the Festival of Goodwill, we're in this process of learning more and growing into soul consciousness as that soul power brings us together, personality and soul, to control circumstance and any reactions of the personality. We're going to start off today with a very unusual way for us. And let's just listen to this piece and integrate what you can of the sounding in ideas and experience of the sound as we approach the Festival of Humanity. Thinking of Tu as the call of the personality to the soul. Thank you, Donna. I will stop the share and I will go back to share again and see if the sound will work. Is the sound working now? If you can just put your hand up and let me know. Okay. As I was putting this together and this idea of sisterhood and brotherhood, I was thinking about how we balance usually with male and female voices and how seldom we have the opportunity to hear an orchestra and a chorus working together, these dualities that come together in music, and how we need to stretch ourselves beyond the usual sounds in order to truly align for the festival of humanity. The lower key word of Gemini, let instability do its work, begins with the first entry into incarnation and the development of that instinct to move forward. That instability culminating with the entry into life where this pranic triangle is the source of the energy coming into the physical body. As the body grows and develops and matures, the shoulder center, the center near the diaphragm and the spleen. And we're often told that how valuable it is to expose your back to the sun, because what it's doing is it's activating this pranic triangle within your being, within the etheric body. We can take and move forward looking at the triangles of the centers as they develop in us as part of this progression that is in fact an ongoing sense of duality, from the personality to the soul, from the soul to the angel of the presence and the presence, demonstrated to us in the teachings through Buddha and Christ. Each left guidance and instructions. The Buddha, the Eightfold Path, and Christ, the Beatitudes. Before dying, the Buddha gave his last sermon. In that, we are told, the more desires one has, the more they will suffer. Our mere existence is suffering. In our life, we distinguish pleasure from suffering and tend to cling to pleasure. This is our inherent nature, according to the Buddhic philosophy. But suffering is inseparable from pleasure, the duality, for one is never found without the other. Therefore, the more we seek pleasure and avoid suffering, the more entangled we become in the duality of pleasure and suffering. Be content with our state of being. That is his message. If we are not satisfied with our state of being, we will be slaves to the 5 desires which stem from the 5 senses. James Guthrie has been a student of the Ageless Wisdom for years and shares regularly this month the teachings on the Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. This blessedness starts with humility. the keynote, meekness or impersonality, that complete renunciation of self, which is achieved through suffering and which later lifts one to the consciousness of the ascension. The meek are impersonal. He that loses his life for my sake shall find it. The planetary correspondence is the moon that attracts and increases. You think of the way in which the cycles of the earth, the oceans, the tides are guided by the moon and the cycles of the moon. What is the location of the moon in your particular chart, in your horoscope? How has that attraction, the energies of the moon, that which you brought in from previous lives, how is that impacting? And can you truly stand in that place and experience true humility in the face of the great tides of the oceans, the great cycle of sunset and sunrise? And begin to relate to humanity with true meekness, with impersonality. Mutability, mutation, transmutation, all taking place continuously in the cycles, continuously as we grow on the mutable cross, from Gemini, around the cross, through incarnation after incarnation. This mutable cross is sometimes called the cross of rebirth, emphasizing the constant mutation of which it is a symbol, and also called the cross of changing lives. It pictorially represents the 4 critical points or movements in the span of existence of the soul in manifestation. Gemini, that arm of the cross, the essential unrelated duality, the twins. Sensed and recognized duality through the massed fusion in Cancer. Cancer, the sign of the whole of humanity, and the individual consciousness in Leo. So tying together the progression that humanity is moving through, and this is called the stage of humanity. It is the crisis of incarnation, mounting the wheel as personality and form life, and then moving through the cycle of rebirth in form and the experience of each incarnation, the manifestation of manhood. The higher keyword uttered by the soul itself is, I recognize my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The keynote of humility, signifying the Christ power to control all manifestations and phenomena of the earth. The planetary correspondence is Mercury. Humility through the Christed mind, through the mind of the soul. And in Gemini, we are given this opportunity to learn through the mind, through the progressions into the higher mind, of how Mercury can take us into the higher levels and achieve through Mercury eventually true soul consciousness and blend the 4th and 5th kingdoms. the keynote of the first day of preparation for the Festival of Humanity is resurrection. Think about each stage in the development of soul consciousness as a point of resurrection into the higher point. Expansions of consciousness, each one moving, mutation, transmutation toward resurrection into the next expansion, a greater world, with the deepest humility. The second triangle that is developed by all is man controlled from the astral plane, where most of humanity is controlled at this time. The base of the spine, the solar plexus, and the heart. The heart, that point that relates us all. Through the development of intellect, the concrete mind develops this triangle, and the solar plexus becomes the clearinghouse for all emotions, for all ideas of a lower nature. And the higher point of the solar plexus becomes that point of emotional idealism, lifted to the heart center, the point that is called pure reason, the heart. The purified ideas, the thoughts, blend into the heart center and develop the intellect and expand intellect from the concrete mind to the higher mind. It's the first glimmer of soul being for each human being, as the clearinghouse works to move the energy from the solar plexus to the heart. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. In that clearinghouse, there is comfort in the rising, the bringing of those ideas, the astral notion, to a higher level. Mourning pertains only to the present stage of manifestation, and that is where humanity lives at this point, in that triangle. Humanity's eventual elevation to the Christ consciousness will bring about, instead of comfort, that peace which passeth understanding. The planetary correspondence is Venus. Love as pure reason, the great antidote for evil. Perfect love casteth out fear. Love is letting go of fear. Faith and hope are combined in this love. Faith and hope with pure reason. The keynote for the second day of preparation for the Festival of Humanity, the Festival of the Christ, is love. Love first experienced on that astral field, and then rising to the point of emotional idealism to launch into some experience of soul. In meditation, we're given this mantra to use to lift the solar plexus energies to the heart, and from the heart to the head. In that process, we confirm the souls of all are one, and we are one with them. We seek to love, not hate. We seek to serve and not exact due service. We seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. This beautiful mantra, setting up the dualities for us, the lower to the higher. We seek to love, we seek to serve, we seek to heal. The words of the Buddha. Let pain, the suffering, bring due reward of light and love. This beautiful mantra brings those teachings together, the teachings of the brothers, so that we move from the lower keyword, experience soul, and we recognize soul and the waning, the growing, the glowing of the soul that takes place. Let's focus on consciousness, continuity of consciousness, the relationship of soul and personality, and the integration of soul and personality as we listen. Breathe and reach out through your consciousness to all the points around the world where there is sound, and the sound of suffering lifts the voices of those toward the soul. All around the earth, integration of experience into aspiration to build the relationship of soul and personality and to develop a higher consciousness. Master Morya tells us that the suffering of the world from sin, so says the scripture, leads us to striving toward perfection as a cure. We say that illness arises, that is, the masters say that illness arises from the imperfections of past and present, and that we should know how to approach illness. Much to the regret of doctors everywhere, the true preventable measure will be perfectment, the process of becoming perfect. This building and expansion of consciousness to higher and higher levels. People can understand that the process of becoming perfect begins with the heart, and that it is not only a spatial meaning, but also a strictly material one, bringing into this time the importance in Gemini to recognize that duality, spatial and material, and the meaning of mothers carrying their children close to their hearts as a panacea for calming them down, but they are usually unaware that holding someone close to one's heart exerts a very powerful influence. Morya says that is why in the subtle world we gather people close to the heart so that they can be strengthened and healed. So in each moment that we stretch and expand our consciousness out into the world in meditation, in study, in service, we are linking heart to heart and holding those suffering in need of both material and spatial meaning in their lives so they can be strengthened and healed. Many are working in the field of healing, and actually one could say that any of the work that's being done by most of the larger meditation efforts around the globe, that it is healing that is sought. And it is the harmlessness that springs from true understanding and control of the personality by the soul that leads inevitably to spiritual expression in everyday life. So harmlessness is demanded of us. It emanates from a capacity to enter into the consciousness and to penetrate into the realization of one's brother and sister. And when this has been accomplished, all is lost sight of in the desire to aid and help. We're also told that the healing energy of the spiritual hierarchy cannot flow through a group if there is disharmony or criticism. The first work, therefore, of any group of healers, and we might say any of our esoteric meditation groups, is to establish themselves in love and to work together towards group unity and group understanding. Let us hold that thought as we consider, as we reach out in consciousness beyond the boundaries of our ordinary everyday life, and to establish ourselves in love with those around the world. Patience is needed, and it does take time. But at holding that intention and establishing that one-pointed idea and producing the needed rhythm, we can, in our groups, produce such a unity and intensity that the work can synchronize internally. We're told aspirants and students, as they work along these lines, must train themselves to think as a group. and to give to the group the best that is in them. Each one of us give to our groups the best that is in us. And the fruit of our meditation upon these matters. So as we meet together, we'll bring this out into each and every one of our groups. Master Dwalkul tells us we use the word appear. He uses the word appearance to express what we call matter or form or objective expression. And this is the third aspect, the mother, overshadowed and fertilized by the Holy Ghost or life, united with intelligent substance. This fire by friction is what you experience in life. And it's brought about by life and matter. But holding that, we need to move up above, out of the lower, and focus on the higher. We are lives making an appearance, expressing quality, and slowly becoming aware of the process and the objective, as our consciousness becomes more like that of divinity itself. So when we sound the protective formula, we're confirming that as the soul, we work in light, and darkness cannot touch us. We take our stand within the light, within the higher mind, the manas, and from that point we work. And from that point we embrace buddhi, the higher, the soul, and unify manas and buddhi. And from that point we never move. DK says, only when the appearance is beginning to be dominated by quality and consciousness, the soul is expressing itself in direct awareness through the form, is the purpose dimly sensed. That is what we work toward, we strive toward, we share the subtle energies together from the highest point of the soul. To repeat part of a sloka that we have read, that every thought generates action. Manas and buddhi united. The light of the Lord Buddha and the love of the Christ. Love is the purified heart of pure reason. We are examples then to others in every moment, in every exchange, in every thought, of the unification of the light of the Lord Buddha and the love of the Christ. This beautiful evocative image from the planetary system allow your consciousness to experience the higher meaning of this presentation of duality. And the relationship of the solar angel to humanity as a whole, for we are told that humanity is the brain of the planetary being. As we move forward together, using the mind, growing and glowing, this mind continuously causes our recognition of duality, and our relationship with the solar angel moves us forward with fluidity in Gemini. Apologies for the sound and the wonkiness. Let's just move forward, and I won't play the sounds as much. That was to help us, really recognize. So many of us have been raised in Christian philosophies, and that notion of the Christ has spread so far around the world. That particular choir is in South Korea, and it has extended around the world, creating a kind of division in a way, because the music itself, in focusing on a particular philosophy, tends to separate people. So the question is, in developing soul consciousness, how do you identify yourself and then reach for yourself, from yourself to the higher self, the soul? And what mechanisms do you use? Is it silence? Is it sounding in the Tibetan Buddhist manner? Think of that. But with all of it, what we're told is that it requires us to stand in the will and continuously stand. And we stand together in the center of the will of God. We stand. Naught shall deflect our will from God's will. We implement that will by love. We turn towards the field of service. As the triangle divine, we work out that will within the square and serve humanity. Most of humanity who are beginning to step on the path are developing a continuity of consciousness and activating this triangle, the base of the spine, the heart, and the throat. And they are beginning to be controlled from the mental plane across the fields of experience. All points of the mental plane expanding into the higher realms with expression. From the last sermon of the Buddha, which the Lord Maitreya the Christ sounds at the Festival of Humanity. When the self and the external world become one, eternal serenity is enjoyed. Forget the self, forget others. Become one with no barrier between the self and the outside world. Without any interruption, practice meditation. Meditation includes not only sitting. Every moment of one's life is meditation. Every moment of one's life is meditation. This means to experience the oneness of yourself, time, and place. Do not forget what the Buddha taught. As Buddha was dying, he told his disciples to forget about him and his belongings. The important thing was to remember his teachings. When we enter samadhi and understand impermanence, we are unshaken. Everything is constantly changing, including ourselves. We're going to move forward together over the course of the next cycles toward the mountaintop in Capricorn. And as we do that, let us sound the words of power of the rays that are transmuted, transmitted, transform us through Gemini. I assert the fact. I see the greatest light. Purpose itself am I. Two merge with one. Three minds unite. The highest light controls. And embrace the energies of these rays in the process of transmutation. I serve myself is the mutation of relation. I serve my brother is the orientation of relation. I serve the one is right relation. Impersonality, growing and glowing into service as right relation, the gift of Gemini. This evocative image is given to us by the planetary system, and it in a way represents where we stand in manifestation, and the column of light growing and glowing. And through this process of growth, this triangle begins to form and become the dominant triangle in experience. The heart center, the throat center, and the head centers. Lead us, O Lord. From darkness to light, from the unreal to the real, from death to immortality. With fluidity, to reconcile the pairs of opposites. Expanding consciousness and creating a new continuity in every moment. In another place and time around the world, there are those who are serenading Krishna to move from the unreal to the real. we move out in consciousness to embrace the diversity of expression, all honoring Christ, the synthesis of the Saviors. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. The keynote, putting the Most High first, seeking first the kingdom of heaven. The planetary correspondence is Uranus, the sole ruler of Gemini. A divine yearning for the highest. Passion becomes compassion. Self-love becomes unconditional love. To make the ideal a reality and to manifest the Christ consciousness. And over time, and through these ever-expanding levels of consciousness or stages of awareness, we become partially controlled by the ego, the heart, the throat center, linking in a triangle of light with the head center, which is 4 lesser centers, and their synthesis, the Ajna center. And developing intuition with this triangle. We have lifted the 4 lesser centers to the head. And they become a synthesis with the Ajna center, creating the spiritual eye and developing intuition. Uranus has now entered the sign of Gemini and will be in this sign of mutability, consciousness, and relationship for the next 7 years, the cycle of the new group beginning in Capricorn this year. And the law that guides the process of relationship, the law of magnetic impulse, governs the relation, the interplay, the intercourse, and the interpenetration between the 7 groups of souls on the higher levels of the mental plane, which constitute the first of the major form differentiations. These we can only study intelligently from the angle of the 7 ray groups, as they compose the spiritual aspect of the human family. Note that the 7 ray groups compose the spiritual aspect of the human family. This law governs also the relationships between souls who, whilst in manifestation through form, are en rapport with each other. Our relationship is guided under the law of magnetic impulse. It is therefore the law which concerns the interrelation of all souls. There are therefore to be found in this great task the following relations and groupings. These must be considered and are as follows: the forces of light and the spirit of peace, embodied lives of tremendous group potency, into the planetary hierarchy, the Buddha and the Christ, and to the new group of world servers, and then humanity. So as we prepare for this festival of humanity, we sound the first great invocation, beginning, let the forces of light bring illumination to humanity, and the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May people of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. Let forgiveness on the part of all be the keynote at this time. Let power attend the efforts of the great ones. So let it be, and help us to do our part. For the individual disciple, the significance of this law of magnetic impulse, we are told, and the corresponding relationships in our own lives might also be shown in this tabulation. At the highest point, the world of souls on the higher mental levels, that which we just learned about, or relearned, or reconfirmed, the 7 groups on the mental plane, those high soul groups. And then the master of the group that we're part of. Then the solar angel. Then the aspiring disciple on the lower mental levels. To the personality, integrated and often troublesome. To the aspirant's environing associates. So this tabulation of relationships for individuals, as we endeavor to awaken soul consciousness in humanity, it is our growing and glowing to a new point in every moment. Meditation is in every moment. So this is a synthetic depiction of the triangles, becoming conscious of the centers in triangles of development, and our awareness that the organ of fusion is the heart center. More radiant than the sun, purer than the snow, subtler than the ether is the self, the spirit within my heart. I am that self am I. Breathing in the rhythm of the waves, connecting to life in all of its manifestations. Let us ascertain the purpose at this particular point in evolution. First, pausing to fuse the soul qualities of the integrated personality into direct alignment with the angel of the presence. The qualities that dominate in your alignment with your soul group on the higher mental plane. Response to group vibration. We are concerned with achieving an understanding of that entity radiating through the medium of form. We seek to understand the embodiment of soul and personality, the brothers, as the actuation of our highest purpose at this particular point in the evolutionary cycle. This way reveals to us as disciples a hint, even though in the moments when you truly expand into the presence, you may bring back something from your high adventure that has little to do with the high point for this point in evolution for humanity. Stand in the field of our awareness and in each moment meditate, and moment to moment await a hint of a truth that will bring relief to humanity. Coming through the angel and the spiritual triad. Sensing the presence as a vibratory experience. Ascertaining the purpose, that which is seeking to embody form now. Carry a world issue or service desire into the triple light of the intuition. At any moment, when you pause to connect with the angel, in this practice, we are thus becoming duly recognized as trustworthy agents of light. Growing and glowing. Breathe up to the soul consciousness. Where these hints are registered. As we contemplate freedom as the keynote of the world disciple today, and it is freedom to live, freedom to think, and freedom to know and plan, which humanity demands at this time. Our goal is to contemplate with true solemnity. From Agni Yoga Heart, true solemnity is built upon the highest degree of tension. Solemnity is not rest, not satisfaction, not the end. It is precisely a beginning. That is, resoluteness and a march forward on the path of light. Hardships are inevitable, for they are the wheels of striving. Terrible pressures are inevitable, for without them the explosion lacks power. Joy abides in the solemn victory of the Spirit. And the victory of the Spirit lies in affirmation of the unshakable principles from which everything begins. As we contemplate freedom as the keynote of the world disciple today. And it is freedom to live, freedom to think, and freedom to know and plan, which humanity demands at this time. Let the lords of liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to humanity. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming, save. Moment to moment, each moment in meditation. The hints come through the angel and the spiritual triad, and we hold this receptivity, this alignment in all circumstances and events. Should be remembered that all the planes of our system, viewing them as Deva substance, form the spirale in the physical permanent atom of the solar logos. All consciousness, all memory, all faculty is stored up in the permanent atoms. And we are consequently dealing here with that consciousness. Bear in mind that it is on the atomic subplanes of the logoic consciousness, remote as even that may be from the reality, centers itself. This permanent atom of the solar system, which holds the same relation to the logoic physical body as the human permanent atom does to that of man, is a recipient of force and receptive to force emanations from another extra systemic source. And in part 3, we'll venture into that teaching in relation to that extra systemic source. Some idea of the illusory character of manifestation, both human and logoic, may be gathered from the relation of the permanent atoms to the rest of the structure. Apart from the permanent atom, the human physical body does not exist. We live and move and have our being in a greater permanent atom. And as humanity, we are focused in the principle of mind, the monastic permanent atom. As we approach the Festival of Humanity, we develop the mind and grow in continuity of consciousness. This point of tension that we hold, we're told in Agni Yoga, AUM, is an exalted offering of all one's best feelings It is a tension of all superior energies, a contact with the approaching gates. And you see the columns, the gates, our true soul alignment with the angel of the presence. We maintain our alignment with the higher centers, for these centers receive the force in a threefold manner. Force from the heavenly man, from the 7 rishis of the Great Bear via the monad. Force from the Pleiades via the solar angel or ego. And force from the planes, from the Raja Devas of a plane, or Phohatic energy, via the spirale of a permanent atom. So we'll move forward and consider this in part 3. In our practice, we envision the great triangle of Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity. This mechanism through which the spiritual triad, the soul, and the personality work. Receiving these potent energies from the hierarchy through the great Savior, known as the Christ, the Bodhisattva, the Lord Maitreya, the ascended Krishna consciousness, through the group and into the individual centers of aspirates, disciples, and initiates. And centered, the energies of Venus, Uranus, and Saturn into the center of the triangle, the Christ, the Maitreya, the synthesis of all the incarnations of the Savior of all. As we move forward toward the Festival of the Christ, called the Festival of Humanity and the Festival of Goodwill, we hold this triangle. And we endeavor to create the polar union, linking the higher and the lower. The 4th essential relationship, the relation between the soul and personality. And the head center is awakened through meditation, service, and aspiration. And it is through this center that the soul makes its contact with the personality. Bringing the soul on the Buddhic plane as the positive force, the soul vehicle, the higher mind, the point of balance, and the lower mind, the brain, receptive, integrated, and eventually fused. Among us today, in the subtle energies, we have spiritual initiates, masters, those who've moved through the 4th to the 5th initiation, where the heart, the 7 head centers, and the 2 many-petal lotuses, there are 10 centers radiating to us as part of our soul groups. They are signifying the perfected man, the master. And it is essential for us to take into consideration, we're told by Master Morya, the special conditions of the present time. Understand the shifting of the peoples and the formation of new, fiery manifestations, which may have a profound impact. Whoever is able to maintain a mood of solemnity is acting correctly. Harmony and cheerfulness are needed. And Master Morya says, take very good care of the heart, the organ of fusion. The keynote of love sounds forth from humanity in so many ways. And you, and you, and you. Life is a promise. It is you. It is you, my other self, growing and glowing. Like a summer morning, so are you, my soul. All my hope is you. Like fresh rain in my hands, like a strong breeze, like the water from my fountain, the fire in my home, now the fire in my heart. Something like that. It is you, my soul. My life. Something like that. It is you. As my poem is you. Like my guitar in the night is you. All my horizon is you, the soul. I see my other self, and in the waning of that self, I grow and glow. My soul, my life, my horizon, your soul, your life, your horizon. We are the soul. We are one. Recognition is given today by thinkers to the factual nature of energy, and DK is using that word factual most advisedly. Energy is now regarded as all that is. Manifestation is the manifestation of a sea of energies, some of which are built into forms, others constitute the medium in which those forms live and move and have their being, and still others are in process of animating both the forms and their environing substantial media. It must also be remembered that form exists within forms. This is the basis of the symbolism. Let us recognize the soul in all forms.